Hello, this is Christina Barn. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barn. Today we're going to be talking about, I saw Peter Strzok on MSNBC talking about the FBI and this whole Trump situation. And it occurred to me, and I suppose everyone should know this, but I'm just like, they are well aware that there's just nothing legitimate as of how the FBI is operating right now, going after Trump and what they're talking about releasing and not releasing. Like, they don't want to release the affidavit. Trump team wants them to release the affidavit. They're actually going to court to settle that tomorrow, I think, by the same person, magistrate, who agreed to the warrant. So people are saying probably not going to happen. But to have, they had McCabe on too, but to have Peter Strzok on there trying to defend the FBI and everything that's happened, it's like, why them? Knowing the history, knowing that obviously there's been bias there, to assure the fear, to assure the American people, to alleviate their fears. Why would you do that? And I think the reason is because they don't care about doing that. They know that they're in the wrong. They have their own sort of audience they're going to placate towards, but they don't care about their form of justice is social justice. It doesn't have to be like real justice. It's just like, we want the result that we want, and we will do what we have to get it, and everyone else has to be in line with that. Like, New York Times put out an article talking about how Trump, his problem is how he explains things and how he stumbles around and sort of half-truths or whatever to cover up things like what he did with Russia. And I'm like, what did he do? Like, it's like nothing. Like, there isn't a crime. They've been looking for a crime for all this time and haven't found it. But they're still searching for one, and they'll do what they have to find it. But they'll just bring on people who will go along with the narrative. They don't care if it's true. They don't care if it's righteous. And it's just really evident when they bring on disgraced people who had to resign in disgrace, get fired, etc., whatever, to come and pitch their ideas. And like, McCabe was let go like a day before he retired or something like that, because he was leaking stuff about the Clinton stuff, probes. And it's just amazing, the audacity of some of these people. Like, I keep saying the right laughs because the left can't meme, but the left does things far worse than that. They troll you with how they rule, how they wield power. So we'll be talking about that. We're talking about this leaked document that was leaked to the Daily Mail about the American Academy for Pediatrics and how they are suppressing concerns about trans ideology and how it is harming people. And people are like, trust the science. But what happens when you have scientists that believe basically that, I don't know, that their ideology should be superior to where the science leads or where the evidence leads or where the data leads, and they have a result, that an end goal that they want to meet, And so even really smart people can be radicalized by their own ideology, and then they will find a way to rationalize whatever the heck they want. So just because someone is an expert or a scientist or whatever, a doctor, which, they're only practicing medicine, that doesn't mean that you should give overall autonomy toward that person, because they could be just as confused and broken on the inside as you are, or worse. So we're talking about that. Also, in Minneapolis, there was a contract with the union and teachers union, and they're calling for layoffs of white teachers first. So it seems like we're headed in a bang up direction in America, folks. Yeah, we got to talk about all that today. But before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content that I have on my website, different articles, different videos. Make sure that you guys are inputting your your emails and stuff and the email addresses to make sure they're getting that kind of content. Make sure you guys check out different merchandise on the website as well. I don't have my mouse with me today, so I usually have a wireless mouse, so I feel a little strange just scrolling with my keypad. Hopefully we don't have any glitches with my fingers. So we have, like, you can check out the goat hoodie, goat t-shirts. We got those available on the site. We got the I am not the victim you're looking for shirt. I made that after Gina Carano was fired from Disney Star Wars, actually. Got the Be Better Not Bitter, all kinds of stuff. Also got books as well. You guys can check out. I have nonfiction books and fiction books as well. Actually, mostly fiction. I am working on another nonfiction book. It has to do with the subject of abortion. I am really plugging away in it. I'm looking forward to having that out very soon. If you want to check out my books, you can just look up my name, Christina Elbar. It's Christina Elbar on Amazon. Or if you go to blacktnews.com and hit the merchandise link, oh yeah, you go to the page, there's a banner that has like my books on it, and that'll take you to my book website if you want to learn more about some of my stuff. I'd really appreciate if you checked it out, and a lot of people have checked out some of my stuff, including some of my children's books for their kids, and have really liked it, enjoyed it. We do need to kind of run a counterculture, and it's not like a political book, but it's obviously got some really good conservative values that you might want to instill within your kids. Super Kids, loosely based on some stories about my dad, actually. So you guys can check out those books as well. Also, if you like what I do here at blacktnews.com, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. That would really help me out. Nothing in life is free. No times are tough, but nothing is is free. The website, the streaming, my equipment, all that stuff is, a cost associated. And if you would like to help out, and if you can help out, I understand everybody can, go to blacktnews.com/donate and leave a gift. Really appreciate it. Otherwise, make sure that you guys are liking and subscribing all across the different social media platforms. My handles are at Black Tea News, black like the color, tea like the drink, with the exception of Twitter. That one is at True Black Tea. All the links should be in the description if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Also want to thank Brighter Mission Pack. I'm in the studio today. If I say something today that triggers you, no one cares. But I just like to uplift conservative voices, and I really do appreciate that. So you guys know that I like to start with something humorous. And unfortunately, the thing that we're going to laugh at today is a Republican ad by Dr. Oz. If you've been watching for some time, you know that I was not happy about Dr. Oz being the candidate. I do encourage you guys to go ahead and vote for him over Fetterman. It is what it is, but I didn't understand Trump endorsing Oz. A lot of people thought he missed it with that, and I did not appreciate all of the tactics that were done to go after people like Kathy Barnett, for example, who's running against Oz. And I talked about that at length, but it is what it is. However, this ad is insane. This ad is really bonkers. I'm going to show you guys. It's really bad. People were talking about how bad it was yesterday, and I just wanted to share. And it's particularly egregious because I make campaign videos and things. So I'm just floored. And I will say his consultants, whoever he has hired, are just taking him for whatever he's worth, and don't have real respect for the craft, I guess.
Now that John Fetterman claims to be recovering, let's pull back his hoodie and examine what's in his head. Looks like he has some screws loose. What's this? Fetterman wants to release 1/3 of all prisoners. That's crazy! Spend more tax dollars, everything will cost more. That's nuts. Slow energy production, gas prices will skyrocket. That's ridiculous. Socialized medicine? Where do you get these crazy ideas? Now it makes sense. Better close it up. John Fetterman is crazier than you think.
So yeah, that's the ad. A lot of people are like, this is terrible. How could you make something like this? Or obviously he didn't make it. Someone he paid made that ad. So first of all, I think it's so Fetterman he had a was it a stroke that he had? But he's been out for some time, and people have showed some videos of him on the campaign trail, which I don't think he has like any really event listings on his site right now. He's still obviously not well. Um, he didn't seem like he was all the way quite there. He probably still needs time to really recover, but how it's looking, Oz is probably still going to lose to him by maybe 10 points. It's amazingly bad. But saying we were glad that he's better, but he's got some screws loose. It sounds, first of all, like you're making fun of his condition. So there's that. So some people say that like in a campaign, like to question like their medical stuff is fair game. I don't know. That's something that you leave to like other PACs or something and be like, that wasn't me. I don't know if that attacks like that should be, and I don't even know if they thought about it that deeply, but that's what it comes off to me at first. But having like the goofy carnival barker thing, it's so goofy and not serious. And this is a pretty serious election with very serious ramifications. I don't think most people would see something like that. Like people, you got to do like ads that you can do ads that invoke some kind of fear. Those are pretty effective. He's talking about some very serious things, but he's presenting them in just a wacky way that people won't take serious. But people like clean, straightforward sort of ads and talking points and stuff. So and it wasn't powerful, like it wasn't emotional. It just did not tick off any sort of boxes that should have been ticked off. I I just wanted to like get on, find somebody and call and be like, you know what? Just if you send me a couple dollars, I will help you out, sir. I will help you out. Just send me a couple dollars and we can fix this. Like we can come up with something better than what you're doing. But this isn't it. Like fire everybody. They're just taking your cash. And you know what? Sometimes when people get involved in politics and like Ben Carson, for example, he raised, I think, quite a bit of money at first, but he didn't quite know what was appropriate to spend on like campaigns and other stuff like that. So he was like overpaying in some stuff. And then you had like Bloomberg. Bloomberg had like terrible stuff when he was running. And I was joking with my sister. I'm like, I'll take some of that Bloomberg money. Now I wouldn't have helped Bloomberg, but it's just like we were joking about it, like, because he was also paying people ridiculous money, but it was for very bad quality type of things. So if you're not involved in the game and if you don't know people involved in the game, sometimes the people just take you to the ringer. So I have no idea who is really going through his campaign, but in allowing him to like go on like when he won the primary, he was like gone for a while. He went on vacation and he wasn't on the road like he should have been, really trying to get that base. And it's not even good that he doesn't live in the state. People are still mad about that. So he should have been working in overdrive, and he's just not it. He's just not. I want them to take the Senate, and I just wish people were noting, like people were concerned that Kathy Barnett wouldn't have a serious campaign, and then he does like some goofy carnival crap. It's someone a commenter said political ad was trash. Not a fan of Oz either. Not sure why Trump backed him. I think it's because he was probably because he's famous and they figured the name ID would help, but he was still a carpetbagger. He still had some negative things that Republicans wouldn't jive with. And if your name ID may be high, but what are your unfavorables? That matters too, you know? So that really matters too. You can't just look at how much people know about you. You have to also look at the unfavorables when you're making those sort of determinations. So best of luck to him, I guess. Somebody at the RNC or somebody need to like grab him and shake him and be like, "What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing?" And there's also been reports of Trump being like not happy with actions and stuff they took, especially when on vacation and whatnot. But let's move on. So I saw this clip that was flowing around Twitter. MSNBC Morning Joe, and Morning Joe, there's so many things on MSNBC that are just a joke. And like if you watch Joy Reid, so much of it's just going to be a joke and disgusting and probably racist, but Morning Joe, like to think that they try to take themselves a little bit more serious, but honestly it seems like Donald Trump, when he won the presidency, just kind of stole their souls, I guess, and they just don't know how to react to things. But they had Peter Strzok on, and they're talking about the FBI and Trump and the raid, which everyone's been talking about since it happened last week. And they're insisting, the left is insisting about the integrity of the FBI. And we can't just like memory hole everything that has happened in the past couple of years as far as targeting with Trump. People coming on TV promising that there was a there, but there was no there as far as like Russia collusion and all this other kind of stuff. It wasn't there. There's people still to this day who think he was installed as a Russian puppet and to be president, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. It was a hoax. They were always fishing for some kind of crime that they could not find, knowing good and well that the whole thing was started by a Clinton lawyer, which he admitted in court, and still did not. People still getting away with the stuff, but to have him on the show, it's just a next level. It's just next level crazy to me. So I'm just gonna play this segment and then complain.
With what was that? I can't even remember it. The
text messages.
Just all the stuff. I can't believe that said Donald Trump did horrible things in Russia. The Steele dossier. Right. Steele dossier, which we didn't believe from the start, I must say here. But I do want to read this first before you answer that question. It's from Wikipedia, and it talks about the Wall Street Journal investigation. A comprehensive review in February 2018 of Strzok's messages concluded that texts critical of Mr. Trump represented a fraction of roughly 7,000 texts, which stretch across 384 pages and show no evidence of a conspiracy against Mr. Trump. That is, of course, from Mr. Murdoch's Wall Street Journal. So despite that fact, I put that out there. The FBI makes mistakes. The church makes mistakes. People make mistakes. They screw up. Should this be any...
Well, the church makes mistakes and the... Okay. Oh, such an awful compare. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they do make mistakes, and to pretend like they don't, and to pretend like the FBI might not be making a mistake now would be ridiculous. And just because he had a bunch of text messages and not all of them were about Donald Trump doesn't mean that he didn't text to his lover, because he was married and he had an FBI lover. And they had some kind of insurance plan, they said, with Trump. Obviously, these people, there's some bias there. And I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it. When Trump was had won the election, there were FBI agents who knew they had acted so shady toward Trump that people were talking about taking out liability insurance in case they were sued. So it's not like people didn't know that they acted inappropriately. So like, hey, the church making mistakes. But yeah, they do make mistakes. They do make mistakes. And then you need some kind of repentance or reform or something. But why bring on this guy? Where you guys see it this way. Why bring on this guy? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Reason.
If you're going to try to restore some kind of trust, why this guy? why there's so many different people they could bring on. It's like they just want to troll you all, everyone. Now, and he mentioned like, oh, there were emails and text messages and stuff. So we're just going to throw it out there as if that makes it like okay for having him on there to talk about the FBI and try to restore their integrity and stuff. But why this guy? Why this guy? Have you ever seen that meme of him? Not meme, it's a GIF. They were from his hearing, and he just kind of made some kind of like face where he looked like he had a demonic possession moment. And people use it a lot on Twitter. I wish I could pull it up right now. Boy, it's
for Americans not trust that what the FBI and the DOJ are doing now is in pursuit of protecting classified documents.
Well, Joe, absolutely. The American public should trust what the FBI is doing. You know, what's funny is I think back the year and a half that I spent with a team looking at Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server, there was no concern. There was no outrage on behalf of any Republican as we used search warrants, as we went out and did a very invasive investigation to try and get to the bottom of what she did or didn't do. So it's not that the FBI is targeting any.
Hillary Clinton, unlike Donald Trump, was never the president and will never be. Never. Okay? The president has very broad powers as far as what is classified, because declassification powers. He could be like Michael Scott and just announce, like, I declare this is all declassified, and that would be legit. Like, his powers are that broad. Hillary Clinton does not have broad declassification powers. She had a server, an illegal server, and she was using an email that wasn't a government email that could be, all her stuff could be hacked. As a matter of fact, Comey said it was it was handled not good. They were breaking phones with hammers and all kinds of other stuff. She tried to act stupid when they were asking questions about it, like, well, wipe it like with a cloth or something, knowing good and well they use bleach paint to wipe stuff. So, yeah, people on the right and on the left, I remember when these conversations were going out, when people were investigating her, it was fresh, right? And I remember watching CNN, because we didn't even watch Fox in my office. This is like during the presidential campaign. When I worked in the Michigan Republican Party, we had it on CNN nonstop. We didn't watch MSNBC. We had it on CNN. And there are people who were concerned about how this looked and if she was running and if she had, like, the impropriety of it all. And there were former Clinton, like, involved people who were like, this doesn't look too good. Like, I remember words like constitutional crisis popping up. So there, collectively, people recognize that Clinton did not do a great thing, and people were watching breathlessly that Comey press conference, and he laid out all the things that she did wrong and that she should have been charged on, and they're like, well, it was gross negligence, but they let it go. They let it go. So comparing Republicans being like, yeah, do your job, looking at the illegal server versus busting into Mar-a-Lago with a search warrant, which they don't want to reveal the affidavit. And they're fighting in court to keep that sealed, and they probably will. We will see tomorrow. So, with this broad, like, pick up everything basically from the time that Trump was president order, not knowing what they're looking for, and it looks like a fishing expedition. I think that's pretty different than Hillary Clinton having an illegal server. And again, was not the president. It's not the same. It's not the same.
One side or the other. What you see is the FBI going out on a day in, day out basis, objectively investigating allegations of law. It just so happens that the only thing that tends to come up in the right-wing ecosphere, whether in the media or on the Hill or from President Trump, are those things where they take a personal affront because it directly impacts them. There's absolute silence when the FBI is investigating former Secretary Clinton. There's absolute silence when the FBI is doing things that isn't targeting them. So I think this is a one-sided narrative that has been developed and amplified, particularly by President Trump, going back to 2015.
That's all I got for that one. I remember when I think they had the Anthony Weiner laptop. And after, Comey was like, well, we're not going to prosecute. He said, and then he like said no reasonable prosecutor would bring this case. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's true. But when the head of the FBI says something like that, I think it's kind of like to shut that down for anyone else like coming up behind and saying, yeah, we should do this. So when they're saying no reasonable person would move forward with this case, basically. So within his judgment, like, let it go. So after they found the Weiner laptop or have seized it or whatever, and they start going through, I think, some more emails and stuff on there. They found some more emails. I think that what it was. And people are like, he said he was going to reopen the investigation. And so that was pretty far into the election. And then like immediately they're like, nah, it's all good. We're like, you searched through them that fast? Okay. That seems a little weird, but maybe you did. But I remember that was, maybe it was the week of the election because I was at a Trump rally. We were all like waiting to see what he was going to say about it. We were waiting to see what he was going to say, and he was late. He's always late for his stuff. It was more understandable when he was like doing like 3-4 rallies a day when he was running for president. He's still kind of late for stuff now. But he was late, and we were waiting for him to get in, and then he had like I can't remember what part of the state we were in, and I remember he had like a coat on, I think a hat, and he just kind of tilted his head at the podium and was just like, you know what, we like our justice will basically be him winning. Like these people like Hillary Clinton, they don't get their just desserts. The only way to beat them is for them not to be in power. That was the only justice that we could get. And I think when he said that, everyone like acknowledged that and knew that. So when she lost, it wasn't just, us winning and feeling that the country was going back on the right track. It was someone with a lot of power who is not normally held accountable for their actions was defeated. And that's the best that we could get. And even when Trump was president, he decided to let that go. Probably because he didn't want to inflame the country going after political opponents like that. Something that they did not take his example on. Obviously. So, and that was another thing that was really important about her losing, because even as I was going through like the WikiLeaks emails, the John Podesta emails and stuff, and yes, I was reading those, I thought it was kind of so scary how there was a coordination with the Democrats and the media. It was just like every lever of power was pointed in their direction to lift up that particular machine. And I'm like, they cannot win. It's too much power in one space on one side. They have to be stopped. And the Democrats really want to win, and it seems like a lot of stuff they're trying to pass or with different measures, like if they could win some more seats and get like their new voting rights bill passed or something, that would be like constitutional and stuff. But they want to take over certain stuff with elections that are supposed to be designated to the states and really centralize a lot of things. It just makes you concerned for and what's going to happen in the future. Like they don't have an intention to share power ever. It seems like, they don't have an intention to share power. They start their misinformation or disinformation boards. They're terrified of Elon Musk owning Twitter, which is funny now because Twitter wants to make him buy it because they need the money or whatever. But they were so scared of that because someone was like, hey, I want to be a neutral actor and let people just talk. They can't take stuff like that. So yeah, it was really important that she did lose, and I was glad that she did lose, but they never forgave Trump for it. They never forgave him for it, and they haven't forgiven us for it. And they hate him and they hate us. And they super hate him, but they hate us even more. So this is an important story to still watch, and I'm sure after we find out whether they get that warrant, I mean not the warrant, but the affidavit approved, which we will learn more information. I I don't see them opening it up though, but we'll see. It's the same judge, the Epstein judge, and after all the memes, I don't know if they're gonna I don't know if they're gonna do that. But you know what? This same judge had to recuse himself on another matter involving like Trump. So it's interesting that he didn't recuse himself from like or get another judge to issue the warrant, and that he's going to be the person who's going to say whether they can unseal the affidavit, because he's obviously has admitted in the past he's been a little biased. Okay, so I want to move on. Minneapolis Teachers Union contract calls for layoffs of white teachers first. This is bonkers, and it's just where we're going when people talk about all this racial justice stuff and anti-whiteness, be less white. It's stuff we've been hearing for the past 2 years. What did people think where was going to go? When people decided to support all these really radicals, did they not think they were going to just go further? Sometimes my sister's like, don't they think they're going to make more racist white people? I'm like, yeah, like in the regard of like will be people who are white who are like, why are they doing all this stuff? Why do they keep picking on us? Like, you know what, I hate these people. Like, yeah, that but I'm like, the real problem though are the white liberals who push this sort of racism and segregation and changing of the laws and whatnot, for the purposes of pushing this stuff and making themselves look good, but it's just really creating a cultural Marxist society. So my suggestion to the white people out there is to stop it. Don't let yourselves be overrun because the people is just trying to make you feel bad. Like I played the video yesterday of Kamala Harris talking about like, well, equality should be is a nice goal, but, and she's pushing equity, not really explaining it very well. But I'm like, no, equality should be the thing. It should be like everything, like equal rights. We're all created equal, you know, etc. Blah blah blah. Like that should be the thing that we not aspire to, but the thing that we enforce. Period. Not equity. It's not the same thing. But this is an example of equity. And this is what they push in the Democrat Party platform. And the Democrat Party platform, which I'm not going to hunt for it right now in my queue because I don't have my mouse, so it's not easy to navigate. But in their platform, where it talks about like racial justice under their section says saving the soul of America, they talk about how they know that they cannot get rid of racial disparities if they don't have if they just go by race neutral policies and stuff. So they believe that they're going to have racist or bigoted laws to save the soul of America. And I'm like, so you need bigotry to fight injustice? That's not how it's supposed to work. But that's like CRT. I was surprised when I saw that. I'm like, oh, people say it's only in college, but here it is in the Democrat Party platform. Okay. So Minneapolis Teachers Union's contract calls for layoffs of white teachers first. And this is in Alpha News. This looks like a local site for Minneapolis. And Minneapolis Teachers Union contract stipulates that white teachers will be laid off or reassigned before educators of color in the event Minneapolis Public Schools needs to reduce staff. After the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers and MPS struck a deal on March 25th to end the 14-day teacher strike, the two sides drew up a ratified a new collective bargaining agreement complete with various proposals. One of the proposals dealt with educators of color protections. The agreement states that if a non-white teacher is subject to excess, MPS must access a white teacher with the next least seniority. They're still, protecting that seniority. Starting with the spring of 2023 budget tie-out cycle. If accessing a teacher who is a member of a population underrepresented among licensed teachers in the site, the district shall access the next least senior teacher who is not a member of an underrepresented population, the agreement reads. And you know what? Unions always do the seniority thing, but but that is a way to also protect like the woke folks who are there who are allowing this. They're like, oh well, we can get rid of white teachers, but not me, because I've been here for a while, so I've paid my dues, so we're gonna get rid of like the bushy-eyed youngins who come in here, but I'm protected, but we can discriminate against another white person. Me, I'm not going anywhere because I've been here for a minute. So it's funny that they still want to go by seniority and not just be like, it's, I don't know, performance of like white teachers at that point or something like that. Why not, if this is the best thing to do to just save the underrepresented people, then why not just like equally get rid of all the white folks? Oh my gosh. This is crazy. According to the United Federation of Teachers, accessing means reducing staff in a particular school when there is a reduction in the number of available positions in a title or license area in that school. The agreement adds that non-white teachers, as well as those working in various programs, may be exempted from district-wide layoffs outside the seniority order. The agreement also prioritizes the reinstatement of teachers from underrepresented populations over white teachers. So the stated jurisdiction for these measures is to remedy the continuing effects of past discrimination by the district. So like, we were discriminated in the past, so we got to discriminate now in the future. That is not fair. That is not fair. That's not how you move on in life, by just continuing hate and continuing bigotry. That's not what like the civil rights movement was supposed to be about. But again, CRT doesn't, it criticizes the civil rights kind of like, let's move forward. They're like, now let's dismantle, reorganize Frankenstein and make our own racism to jerry rig our own view of social justice. So I'm not surprised by this kind of crazy stuff. And they are getting sued, by the way. I did read somewhere, I don't think it was in this article, that that there are going to be some conservative type legal representation for this to fight back against this, and they should be, because this is illegal. It's unconstitutional. It's against the Civil Rights Act. And it's disgusting. This is not how we're supposed to move forward to make a better world. But this is what wokeness will get you. Let's move on. I want to talk about the American Academy of Pediatrics and how it's been leaked to the Daily Mail, how files expose how U.S. pediatricians accuse their own professional body of pushing harmful drugs first and on teens who believe that they're trans. I showed you guys this last week from the Boston Children's Hospital. I showed you one clip, but there's another one that's pretty crazy. So I'm going to play these two clips before we go into this article, because I want you to know how crazy these medical professionals are right now.
Gender-affirming hysterectomy is very similar to most hysterectomies that occur. A hysterectomy itself is the removal of the uterus, the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus, and the fallopian tubes, which are attached to the sides of the uterus. Some gender-affirming hysterectomies will also include the removal of the ovaries, but that's technically a separate procedure called a bilateral oophorectomy. And not every gender-affirming hysterectomy includes that, and people who are getting gender-affirming hysterectomies do not have to have their ovaries removed.
Yeah, gender-affirming hysterectomies. Okay. At the Children's Hospital. let's play this other clip from the hospital.
I will often know that they are trans.
Okay. Oh, not sure why that's dark. Let me. Give me 1 second to re-upload this. But essentially, they're going to say things like parents know that their kids are trans, even just by basically the moment they're born, and just they're going to name really dumb things that kids will do all the time that could possibly signal these people that their kids are trans.
A child will often know that they are transgender from the moment that they have any ability to express themselves, and parents will often tell us this. We have parents who tell us that their kids, they knew from the minute they were born practically, and actions like refusing to get a haircut or standing to urinate, trying to stand to urinate, refusing to stand to urinate, trying on siblings' clothing, playing with the quote opposite gender toys, things like that. There is more and more a group of adolescents that we are seeing that really are coming to the realization that they might be trans or gender diverse a little bit later on in their life. So what we're seeing from them is that they always sort of knew something was maybe off and didn't have the understanding to know that they might be trans or have a different gender identity than the one they had been assigned. So that is a growing population that we are seeing, and that's being recognized as being trans and able to be treated.
If I would like to think that if you were a medical professional and someone says, "Hey, I think my kid is trans," because they refused a haircut, I would hope you would say in the gentlest sort of way, in a very professional way, that you guys are freaking crazy. That you're crazy. And you're obviously trying to push something on your kid. Because they refused a haircut? Because a girl stood up peeing? Or someone's having trouble being potty trained? That's wackadoodle. Or playing with different kind of gender toys. And which is crazy because they fight so hard to remove gender stipulations on certain toys. I think it was California have a boy-girl section or something. They were trying to do something like that. And now it's like, well, if your son's playing with a Barbie, if you have kids, and like if you're a mom and you have a bunch of girls and you take the time out to play Barbies with your daughters, don't be surprised if like your son wants to join in on some kind of fun. Now, I believe that you should. Some people are like, oh, it doesn't matter what they play with. I think that you should try to, encourage gender sort of stereotypes and stuff. And you'd be like, you know what, we're gonna go play with your trucks and whatever. I don't think that matters so much with girls, but like boys, yeah, I think so. My little sister, she loved playing with Bionicles. My brother was into them, and he would buy them for her or whatever. She was a little weirdo, but I'm just saying that in general now because she's just playing with Bionicles. But she liked that stuff, but she liked her Barbies and whatnot too. There's this one tweet that went viral. This girl was talking about her experience growing up and how she was such a tomboy as she played sports and how she joked about cutting off her breasts and all this other kind of stuff. And she showed a picture of herself today, very feminine, long flowing hair, dress, girl clothes, whatever, looks like a woman. And so she said that she realized later in life that she just idolized her brother and wanted to be like her brother. But if she lived in a society today, they might have been like, oh, she wants to chop off her breast. We better get that done. We live in a crazy world. And if you see your kids like playing with different toys, you're really gonna be like, oh, let's like if you have a son or something and you're painting nails and all the girls are painting nails and they say, oh, I want that to do that too. You don't go, oh, my son might be a girl. It's like, no, your son is watching you do something. You're doing something with your daughters or whatever, and they're curious and they ask about it. Now, some people don't see any problem with the nail polish and they might put it on their son. And some people are like, no, that's a girl thing, and leave it at that. But just because people ask questions, are you serious? That's crazy. It's so crazy. There's like just no responsibility of being a parent, to just lay some ground rules or just recognize like basic facts of reality. People are so dead set on pushing this ideology that they're just willing to jump to these conclusions on their kids. Oh, it, and you're a pediatrician or something, a doctor, some kind of medical professional, and someone looks you in the eye and says, "Yeah, I've known since my kid was practically born that they were, they were signed male at birth, but I knew that they were a girl. Why? Because they were tugging on their tinker." I trust the science. What if all the scientists are insane? Okay. Let's read this article. Pediatricians across America are at war with their own professional body over controversial puberty blocking drugs routinely handed to teens wanting to change gender. DailyMail.com can reveal the top child health experts accuse the American Academy of Pediatrics, the AAP, of pushing the harmful drugs on transgender identifying youngsters, according to the damning leaked documents. Disturbingly, the documents also reveal experts believe the APP is deliberately silencing internal criticism by blocking moves for a crucial policy review. The papers leaked by a whistleblower expose how rank and file AAP members across the U.S. are slamming the Academy's shoddy drugs and hormones first approach to trans identifying teens. They insist many would benefit from counseling or therapy instead and urge professional body to follow a more cautious approach currently being adopted by similar bodies in other countries. Fast tracking adolescents into powerful drug cocktails takes a huge toll on young bodies and can lead to sterility and osteoporosis, critics say. For many teens, transitioning is celebrated, but others regret the treatment and seek reversals. By the way, when people do start on hormones, and like if you're a female and you get testosterone does help like with anxiety. So you might have all these anxieties about your body, growing up, puberty, etc., blah blah blah, just normal like female level kind of anxieties, and you start getting that testosterone, and you might start feeling relief, and people are like, "Oh, I actually feel really bad." Like, so you're so they might be even confused about what the drugs are doing, and if they're actually covering up, getting to the root of why they are suffering gender identity, because they feel that relief right there within their chemicals in their body. So just want to put that out there, because like I've heard so many stories with people who start transitioning who talked about they felt relieved at first, they felt really good, and that is like sort of effect also from the testosterone, but eventually the bodies will like hit a wall and they'll realize that they made some kind of mistake. And this article also addresses like people who are feel that they make a mistake as well, because people try to say, well, there's such a low percentage of people who regret their transition. First of all, how are we sure that those numbers are actually accurately being reported? Where are you getting your data? How are you collecting, etc.? Are those people being silenced? Are those people too afraid to come forward to admit that they have regret? And also, there are people who make decisions that are bad for themselves, and they will stick with it regardless. Like I know people who have made some decisions and they were bad decisions, they were wrong decisions, and they'll still say that they don't have any regrets because it was just the decisions that they made, and they're going to live with them. So whether people are talking about this or abortion or whatever, there's going to be people who maybe deep down know that they made a mistake, but who will never come to grips with that. That's just a fact of reality. So just keep that in mind. Fast tracking adolescents into powerful drug cocktails take a huge toll on young bodies. I already read that. Sorry. The AAP says its guidelines to reinforce the gender youth selects, including through drugs, cross-sex hormones, and eventually surgery, are evidence-based, and that it is open to collaborative conversations on policy. But angry AAP members say the Academy changed its rules to block a member-drafted resolution to launch a policy review. It led the review being sidelines at the Academy's leadership conference, which ended in Chicago on Monday. Instead, members took the usual step of airing their concerns in the comment section for a separate resolution in the AAP's members-only website. In the comments leaked to dailymail.com, AAP members said the Academy was endorsing great harm that its care package for trans identifying teens was based on scant and shoddy evidence, and that doling out drugs and hormones was unsafe and unsustainable, before promulgating gender affirming care with all of its ethical implications, irreversible bodily changes, sterility, etc. Don't we want to make sure this is the best path? Wrote an anxious pediatrician. Another member said there was no good long-term outcome data for those who undergo the physical process of transitioning, and pointed to the 37,000 members of an online forum for regretful detransitioners, as they are known. What is most needed, gosh, think about there being 37,000 members on this forum who've gone through this. It's crazy to think that that many people have been through this sort of stuff, and there's that many people on a forum for regret. Most what is, and by the way, I've seen people who have like had long threads like on Twitter and stuff who've just been like banned or their stuff was removed and silenced and stuff. So people don't want folks to know how deeply they can regret this stuff as well. People are being silenced. What is most needed right now is better research to make sure we do the right thing for our patients, wrote the pediatrician, who, like others, were not identifying as such views have led to online harassment in the past. So you got doctors and stuff who don't even want to say their name. Others bashed the AAP for stonewalling Resolution 27, in which 5 members called for a rigorous systemic review of the Academy's 2018 gender-affirming policy, saying growing numbers of transitioners regret their treatment and seek reversals. One AAP member complained they were unable to comment on the document. Another said they would no longer trust the AAP as the resolution was removed and debate on the matter was silenced egregiously. There is no open dialogue on these medical treatments by the AAP, posted another. Input from the membership must occur. Members post their concerns from New York, Alabama, Kentucky, Virginia, Idaho, Nevada, Wisconsin, Colorado, California, Utah, Texas, Tennessee, Maine, South Carolina, North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania. The Academy has some 67,000 members. 5 members wrote Resolution 27. Dozens posted critical comments online, but it is unclear how many questioned the Academy's policy to affirm the choice of trans-identifying youngsters. Julie Mason, an Oregon-based pediatrician and one of the 5 authors of Resolution 27, said ever more colleagues across the U.S. wanted to slow down the mass handout of puberty blockers and spend more time evaluating trans-identifying teens. I'm really disappointed the AAP is being driven by ideology rather than evidence. Mason, also an advisor to the Society Evidence-Based Gender Medicine, told DailyMail.com they've embarrassed what they've let young activist doctors get on them on the record in support of gender-affirming care, and now they can't backtrack. They're suppressed my efforts and come up with new rules to hide what we're trying to say from the rank and file. Several members said the U.S. should be guided by policy shifts in Europe, where health chiefs in several countries have backtracked after carrying out their own policy reviews. Yeah, the U.S. is slow on the ball. Europe is already realizing that they've made some mistakes with this stuff. Britain's Health Service recently decided to close the country's only gender identity clinic for children after a damning review of slew of allegations by former staff and patients about rushing young people onto treatment. A major Swedish clinic last year stopped giving puberty blockers and hormones to children, and Finland's health chiefs decided that psychotherapy, not drugs and hormones, should be the first in line treatment for gender dysphoric youngsters. So, parents have complained about being sidelined as their children make rash decisions about changing gender, which are reinforced by clinicians who follow AAP guidelines and provide drugs to those as young as 13. As young as 13. Last month, California teenager Chloe Cole spoke out against the rush to affirm youngsters with drugs and hormones. She told a medical panel how she was encouraged at 13 years old to take puberty blockers and later have surgery that irreversibly and painfully damaged her body as she transitioned to Leo, a boy. In her testimony, she warned of the dangers of online LGBTQ plus activism, unreliable therapists, and a medical process and its reversal that left her unlikely to be able to have children and unable to breastfeed. So I did play Chloe's video a couple weeks ago, and I did post it on my Facebook page. I had posted a video of it on TikTok, and you want to know what happened? It got reported. It got reported. They did reinstate it, but it really annoyed me that people reported it, because I'm like, if you guys want to hear stories of people in the community, like, how can you disregard people who regret and want to detransition? Um, and they reported my video. Again, I'll give credit to TikTok. They did reinstate it. I was a little surprised that they did, because I think the only reason why I don't have more like videos on this site regarding that topic is because they get reported so easily. But you know what? I could think of at least maybe like 5, 6 other videos that I did on that topic that were reported. And I guess most of the stuff gets reinstated now. I think TikTok is better about that nowadays. But it's still annoying when you have a video and it's doing pretty well in the algorithm. People are watching it. And all of a sudden it's slammed with this is a violation of community guidelines. And then you appeal it and they might, reinstate it fast. In some cases, I might not be on TikTok and know that it's down, because it's not going to be appealed until I appeal it, obviously. And then more people might watch it later. But once you report it, it does kind of cut the wind from the sails, So it's still annoying in the process. But I was so disgusted that people reported it. I wasn't surprised, but it's still not right how they want to silence people who are trying to say, hey, I was lied to, I was misinformed, I did not have true informed consent, I was too young to understand all the things I was doing to my body, I might not be able to have children and conceive, and I won't be able to breastfeed them, obviously. Like, that's important for people to understand and get in their heads, because there's people who don't want that to be known. Likewise, Aaliyah Ishmael, 27 from Michigan, has told of how she underwent a medical transition involving hormones and a double mastectomy to become Issa, but then switched back as she was unhappy with a new identity. Resolution 27 did not advance at the leadership meeting in Chicago. It was the only one out of 45 such resolutions that was affected by new procedural rules introduced by the Academy earlier in the year. The AAP says it changed the rules before it saw the troublesome resolution. The Academy's advice guidelines guides the work of some 67,000 members and the gender-affirming policies of President Joe Biden's administration. Its policy echoes the World Professional Association of Transgender Health and other bodies. The AAP says there is strong consensus support for its transgender care model, which includes repeated psychological evaluations of patients, involves their patients, and does not always lead to cross-sex hormones and surgery. Resolution 27 did not make the cut at last weekend's meeting, but a separate resolution on increasing education resources and training to pediatricians on transgender care is being assessed by the board of the directors. And I wonder what kind of care that's going to be, because gosh, I mean, if they're like, well, if the kid he's standing up, then they gotta be a boy. We just live in a weird world, guys. Weird, perverse, crazy. People probably don't like that word crazy. I just don't have a better one, guys. I just don't have a better word. So, yeah, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. So a lot of people who are fighting so vigorously saying, oh, everybody's for this is the direction it's going. Know that there's people who are pushing back against doing some vigorous studies, pointing to other countries that have backtracked on this stuff already. US is going in a direction that other people have gone, and they're not taking it biased. They're going down their own dark path. And it's not right, and it's at the expense of children. Not just children, there's adults who get caught up in this as well. And it's unfortunate. Well, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please go to blacktnews.com. Check out different content that I have on the website. Please check out different articles. Please check out different videos. Please check out different merchandise that I have. I saw people in my comments saying that they check out some of my children's books. Thank you very much. If you want to check out some of my books that I've written, you guys can go to blacktnews.com. And if you hit the merchandise, there's a banner. It'll take you over to Black Tea News. It'll take you to my book website, which is Ninja Does Publishing. And then you can see all my stuff. But if you just search me on Amazon, you'll be able to find my stuff. My book about abortion, I haven't told you guys the title yet. It's a very good title. I'm about 40,000 words in. So I think it's going to maybe be about 50 altogether, maybe, when I get everything said and done. It's going to be very good. It is very good. And it deals, you guys know that I like to talk a lot of secular issues talking about abortion, but there's so many people who've been talking about the Bible, using things out of context. And I'm like, you know what? We're just going to deal with this topic. But I also think that it's important to note, like, if someone says something like, oh, like I would say, hey, life starts at conception, and therefore we should protect life. And then someone will respond with, oh, you Christians keep your God out of my uterus. I'm like, whoa there, where did I even say anything about God? I'm going by the science, blah, 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 etc. But I think it is important for people to know, like, what exactly do you have a problem with regarding my faith in this topic? What are you assuming I believe? And according to my faith on this issue, and why is it wrong? So that's the conversation I think I want to start moving toward people when they bring stuff up like that up. Because if the problem is like, oh, well, you believe in that life is that there's intrinsic value with life, it's like, well, do you believe that we have to have earned value to not qualify to be killed? Like, at what point do you feel that it's okay to discriminate against a person who's a human being? And why do you get to make that determination? Why is it okay that you get to make that at your whim? It is totally subjective. And my view is that it should be at conception. Why is your view better than mine? Like, let's talk about that, you know? Or like, well, you believe in objective morality and abortion's that immoral. I'm like, well, if you don't believe in objective morality, are you saying it's possible that Hitler was correct somewhere out there in some kind of culture? Like, it's possible that he could have been correct, or do you believe that the law is written in our hearts and deep down everybody knows what's right and wrong? I think people, like, instinctively kind of know what's right and wrong. So I have a particular set of standards for objective morality. And if you don't believe in objective morality, I still think it's important that we act as if we all have an agreement on what that is. So you may not totally agree with me, but I think it's important to act like there's certain lines we won't cross, you know? So we can start having conversations like that. And the book deals with certain things like that, different philosophical arguments. It also, where does life begin? What did scientists say? What did the doctors say? What does philosophy say? It breaks down a lot of things, debunks a lot of arguments, and etc. But there's really, really good information in the book, and I'm excited to finally have it done. When I will have it done, but I'm still working on it, and I'll let you guys know when it will be done and when it'll be available for pre-order. And I would like to have some kind of nice gathering, etc. when that happens. So I will let you guys know. All right. Thank you guys very much for joining me today. If you would like to support blacktnews.com, you can go to blacktnews.com/donate. Make sure you're following me across all my different social medias. It's black like the color, tea like the drink, Black Tea News. All my handles are that, with the exception of Twitter. That one is at True Black Tea. That's also my backup account. And I will see you guys tomorrow.